Okay, let's see. Can you hear me, David?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's see here. I think we are live. The first one of these, so you'll forgive me while we get through these things. David Aldridge is my guest today for Preview Friday. Thank you so much for giving us some time, David.
Oh, Doug, my pleasure, man. Good to be back with you.
Absolutely. Let's see. I've got some notes here. Get over to my note page here. I'm curious. There was a shakeup on the. We'll get to the football, but let's start with the with a little basketball.
Sure.
The you had the new hiring there. Fred Katz goes up to New York.
Yeah.
New guy Josh Robinson's in. That is under your purview to replace the writers.
I have a say in it. It's not totally my call. I have, but they did. I was part of the decision-making process that we went through before we brought Josh in.
Is it more helpful? He covered the Magic before this, right?
Yeah.
Is it more beneficial to be a hometown guy? Is it better writing to not have any skin in the game, if you will? How do you think that works?
It sort of depends, Doug. It depends on the person. It depends on the type of team that they're coming in to cover. Sometimes it's helpful if someone's from here, from the area, and knows the area, knows the fan base pretty well. But sometimes it doesn't. That doesn't really matter. Like for example, like if you were coming in to cover an expansion team, like the Seattle Kraken, for example, does it really matter if the beat writer's from Seattle or not? There is no fan base. You know what I mean? Like it's just starting. So you could bring in somebody from anywhere, right? And it wouldn't really impact the coverage as long as they're good. But if it's it's hard to say. I mean, I've never had to do this before, but I'm just speaking for myself, of course. Like if you had an opening to cover the New York Yankees, yeah, it probably would be better if it was somebody that at least understood the worldwide reach of the Yankee fan base. I mean, they got fans all over the world, right? So, and especially in New York, it would be helpful if you had some idea of how big the Yankees were in New York and knew the history. You'd have to know the history of the New York Yankees. You know what I mean? Like you couldn't come in. I've never covered a baseball team before. That would be really hard for a newcomer. So it sort of depends on the beat. It depends on where the team is. It depends on the city. In our case with Josh, Josh is from DC. He grew up in DC. He lived in Bethesda before he left town, went to college. And knows and was a big fan of the Bullets back in the day. And so was really eager to come back and cover the team that he really loved growing up as a young man. And that was part of it. That wasn't all of it, but that was part of what went into our decision making.
Okay. This team has come down a little bit.
Yeah.
Are they 50-game winners, David?
Close. I think it's close, Doug. It's going to depend on injuries, of course. There's a couple of guys that I think they cannot afford to lose. I think Montrezl Harrell is actually one of the more important ones, and Beal, obviously. They've won 3 games without him, but you are not going to win in this league regularly without your best player, right? Or your best offensive player. And they need him. So, but if they can stay relatively healthy, I mean, they got off to a great start. They have lost a couple here, but not to bad teams. They lost to Charlotte and Miami, who are both good teams. So it's not, it was not an embarrassing loss or anything like that. What you don't want to happen is the snowballs. You don't want to lose like 6 in a row, right? It's okay to lose 2 in a row, but you don't want it to get bigger. That's when you have to kind of nip it in the bud. And that's where I want to see this team in terms of its not just improvement, but maturity to understand, hey, we got to stop this. We can't let this, we can't be complacent losing 4 out of 6, 4 out of 5, something like that, and fall right back to 500. You have an opportunity to build on a great start and stay, at the top part of the Eastern Conference. You have to take advantage of it.
Is this the same, you think barring, of course, injury, as you pointed earlier, is this the same team that we'll see at the end of the season? Is there
Last
another move
season,
to be made?
oh no, it's completely different. And that's part of what's intriguing about it. It's because last year's team was so dominated by Russell Westbrook and Bradley. And it had to be because they just didn't have enough talent around them. They were the two best players. The shots make most of the decisions. This is a much more balanced team. With the three Lakers that they brought in, Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, and KCP, and then bringing Dinwiddie in as part of the deal as well from Brooklyn. It's a completely different team in terms of the balance that it has. Brad doesn't have to score 30 for this team to have a chance to win. He pretty much had to do that every night the last 2 years. We don't have to do that this year. In fact, he hasn't really played all that well yet. I mean, he's had a couple of good games, but for the most part, he's kind of struggled shooting the ball a little bit, and they've still managed to win games. But they have so much more depth now, and they're so much better defensively at the start of this season than they were a year ago. It's not even close.
Will they make a move though? I guess what I was trying to ask is when Rui comes back and Thomas Bryant comes
I
back.
see. Okay, I'm sorry.
Will this be the same? Will the roster be the same right now as it is at the end of the year?
My guess is they're not going to do too much. I don't think they're going to be big participants at the trade deadline. I mean, unless something was a no-brainer that you had to do for like a top 15 level player who for whatever reason was available. I don't think they're going to be involved with Ben Simmons or anyone like that. It just, the group that they have seems to play well together. They seem to get along with each other. There will be, I think after the season, Doug, they're going to have to look at their roster because they probably do have a little bit of a surplus in the front court. If you include Bryant and Hachimura to the group that they already have, they may have to move one or two of those guys, whether that's for another wing player or draft picks. I don't know, but I don't think it's something that they necessarily are going to address during the season. I think when Rui comes back, I don't know that he will automatically start again, but I think he'll pretty quickly be in the rotation again. Because actually, Denny Avdia has played some 5 for them and hadn't been bad. Like, he hasn't been that bad. It's been not a lot of minutes, small sample size, but there's ways you could do it. Be kind of funky, but there's ways you could do it to kind of try and keep everybody healthy, or keep everybody happy. But it'll be difficult. There's a lot of people.
It's a preview Friday, and I was excited to have you on today. We're going to do just a Basketball Tuesday segment, but you are still in all, or at least most of the pressers. I hear you all the time. Do you have a preference? Do you have a favorite sport?
Oh, I guess, I mean, if you ask me, it probably would be basketball, just because I know more about basketball. I've been around it longer. Know more people, but I like football. I've always liked football. I've always enjoyed covering the football team. I was a beat writer back in the Stone Ages, in the mid 90s at the Post. So covered the team for 3 years. So yeah, I've never had a problem covering football. The access isn't what you would like, but everybody's dealing with that right now in all sports. So it's not just football.
Will it ever go back, David? Will you ever get the full locker room access that you once had?
I sure hope so, Doug, but I can't answer it.
I hear that so much.
I sure hope so. I just think it's really different when it's all, well, at least now you're doing in-person pressers again, but not being able to not just walk into a locker room, but be able to kind of have autonomy about who you're going to talk to. Like, like the other day, I really wanted to talk to a lot of offensive linemen after they beat Tampa Bay. And the reason was because that last drive, I mean, that was an 11-minute drive. That's about the offensive line getting the job done.
Right.
Run blocking, pass blocking, really playing at a high level when I know they were all tired and gassed after, 50 minutes of playing, but they still managed to execute at an incredibly high level. And I like talking to people who were involved in that. I like linemen anyway, because they tend to be smart guys. And they really do know the game very well. And yeah, I had to really ask, hey, can we get an offensive lineman as part of this group? Because everybody wants to talk to the quarterback, and Terry was great. But see, that if it was just a regular open locker room, I would just walk up to a lineman and say, hey, what was going on in that last drive? What was the huddle like? How did you fight through fatigue? How did you guys block Ndamukong Suh and Vita Vea that well when the game was on the line? And that kind of spontaneity is really missed when you don't have it.
You guys are doing the Washington football team Showtime
Yes.
show that I've caught. It's you, Jim Vala, JP Finley, and Kime, right?
Yeah.
Looks like a lot of fun.
It is fun. We're just yapping for 30 minutes. It's, you know what I mean? I have a good time doing it. I think all of us have a good time doing it. It's fun to talk about the team. I think it's always better for business when the team's doing well, because more people are watching and are engaged, so it was good that they won last week. But it's fun. I enjoy talking about the team. Nikki and JP and John are there every day. I'm not there every day, Doug. I don't ever want to pretend like I know more than I know. But I know enough. I think I know enough, being around the game a little bit, to be able to contribute some to the show.
It's Panthers week, and there's so much, that both teams know about each other. Are you surprised? They never seem interested at all about Cam Newton. I think that a lot of people would say, you can't convince me that Cam doesn't make this a better football team.
Yeah.
They continue to say they're playing these games, to be successful. I believe them when they say it. Were you surprised? He doesn't seem the coach was never interested.
I wasn't surprised last year,
right?
Because I think we all understood. Look, whatever you think of their decision to bring in Dwayne Haskins, obviously the owner had a big and really wanted them to bring Dwayne Haskins in. And fairness dictated that they give Dwayne Haskins a shot, a real shot to see what he could do. And not only that, you still had Alex Smith, who made a remarkable comeback. Maybe they weren't, I don't know if they were expecting it or not, but, came back and was ready to play. So you, in essence, had two guys that you had to play ahead, that you would have had to play ahead of, Cam Newton. But I was surprised last offseason that they didn't do anything. They got rid of Dwayne Haskins. Alex Smith retired. I mean, the runway's pretty open at that point, and that told me, hey, they must not think Cam's got much left. Ron's brought everybody who ever played for him in Carolina or worked with him in Carolina up here. Right. So obviously, he, if he thought Cam could help him, he would have done it, and he didn't do it. Now, Cam did not play all that well last year in New England. I think part of that was, he got COVID and it kind of messed him up, and it took him a while to kind of physically recover from that, but he just didn't play well. So I just kind of assumed, Doug, that they thought he couldn't play anymore. And there would be no point bringing him here if you didn't think he could play, because Cam is a big personality, and is going to generate a lot of attention. And it's not going to help your team if somebody who does that can't play on Sunday, right? You know what I mean? So It doesn't help you at all. If he could play, it's worth it. You take the good and the bad and everything in between. But if you don't think he can play, then what's the point of bringing him in here? Whether they're right or wrong, I guess we're going to find out. But that's obvious to me. It's obvious that they came to the decision that he just couldn't help him. He wasn't good enough anymore.
It's amazing, David, with the COVID stuff. I think we see it in these great athletes, but the history has shown us there's a bunch of these guys that got COVID, and it really shut them down in a way that I don't think we fully appreciated.
Sure.
Curtis Samuels is another one of those guys. I was listening to the coach with Sheehan this morning.
Yeah.
And Rivera basically said that, the part of the tricky thing with Curtis Samuels' rehab was COVID shut him down. He wasn't able to get in there as much as they had hoped to. Right. Now, Curtis Samuels is out practicing today Would you be amazed if he played Sunday? Because I got to tell you that I didn't have that on my bingo sheet.
I mean, I wouldn't say amazed. I'd be a little surprised just because it looked like it was trending towards, hey, you got to think about just shutting this guy down for the year because it's not getting better, right?
Right.
But now suddenly it seems like maybe it is getting a little bit better. I'm sure Curtis wants to play. He played in Carolina. It was a big, I'm sure it's, for him, he would like to, show the fans in Carolina that he could still play at a high level. But, you hope that more, you hope that people make the right decision here and don't make it based off of emotion. If he's not physically ready to play, all you're going to do is aggravate an injury that's already kept him out most of the season. So if he's not ready, don't play him, but he is questionable, and questionable usually means they got a pretty decent shot of suiting up. So I guess we'll find out Sunday. But yeah, I would err on the side of caution with regard to, because if you rest them another week, even another 2 weeks, and let's say they win 1 or 2 of these games and they're in the hunt, that would be 4-7. And with this cockamamie playoff system, you're still in the hunt, right? So
Right, extra team this year.
Yeah, going into the last 5 weeks. So if 2 more weeks off would make him healthy for the last 5 games, I would do that. But you still would have a shot. If you lose these 2 games and you're 3-9, you're done, or 3-8, it's over, and you don't have a shot. I would probably shut him down. But again, they know more about his physical condition than I do.
This team is just a fact. This team wins more games when Brandon Sheriff's on the field. It's not even close.
Yeah.
He hadn't been able to stay healthy. They've been trying to give him a lot of money.
Yeah.
He won't take the money.
Right.
Do you think they'll try to offer him the money again? And would you?
I think it's a standing offer. Yes, I would continue to offer it to him as long as I can. At this point, Doug, I don't see a path where he's back with this team next year. And just because I don't think they're going to offer him any more money than they've offered him already. And clearly what they've offered him isn't enough as far as he's concerned, right? Like he hadn't taken it. He hadn't accepted the deal. I can only assume that he thinks he's worth more than that and thinks he can get it on the open market next year. So with those parameters, I don't really see how he comes back to this team. They're not going to put a tag on him for a 3rd straight year. They're just not going to do this. Too much money. So either he takes what they're offering him or he goes somewhere else for more money. I mean, I suppose he could say, hey, you know what? I like it here. I don't want to take my chances and stay. But again, guys usually vote with their feet, right? So, I mean, if he hasn't signed it by now, I don't know. I kind of don't think he's going to sign it in the offseason, but we'll see. I could be wrong.
Will it be another week of addition by subtraction with this defensive line?
Well, yeah, I mean, they're going to have to, scheme up ways without Chase and without Sweat. And we talked about this, and it'll be on the show this week. My concern, that's my concern about this game from Washington's standpoint. Not that Smith Williams and Tuhill can't play or couldn't help you, but they're very inexperienced. And what's the one thing you don't want Cam Newton to do is to break contain. You do not want him getting outside the pocket and making plays with his legs. And you got 2 young defensive ends who want to make plays, who want to show people that they're worthy and they want to help their team. And when you do that, sometimes your over-aggression can get the best of you. And so if you run a bootleg the opposite way and that defensive end comes crashing down, now all of a sudden Cam Newton is rolling with this whole patch of green in front of him. That's my concern about Washington. I don't think Cam Newton's going to kill them throwing the football. I don't think he's going to carve them up throwing the football. I do think he can make a whole bunch of plays with his legs, and that could hurt this team.
David, let's wrap. I got a little over-unders here. Let's play.
Sure.
Let's put the over-under at 285 yards passing for the day for the quarterback.
For Washington's or
For
for
Washington. We'll do all Washington.
I'm going to say under because Carolina is like top 2, I think, in pass defense. They're very good against pass defense. So I'm going to say
That
under.
secondary is loaded.
Yeah, they're very good. You're not going to throw the ball successfully a lot against them, I don't think.
99 yards rushing for Gibson.
I will say I will take the over on that. I think they could have a decent day running the football. Not great.
They're going to need to have
Yeah.
a good day. I mean, that's what sets up success for them, right? Is
Yeah,
being able
no,
to
I
get
think
that
they could have a decent day running the football. I mean, Carolina is more susceptible to the run than to the pass. And again, the formula that they stuck to last week that they didn't stick to the week before is the way you beat teams with really good defense, really good offenses is don't let the quarterback on the field. You know what I mean? Like, so, I don't know why they gave up the run against Kansas City because they could have kept Mahomes off the field another 10 minutes. It might have made a difference in the game. They stuck with it against Tampa Bay, even though they weren't necessarily successful in the first half, but that's the whole point. You have to stick with it. You can't keep, throwing the football. So if they avoid turnovers like they did last week and they're in the game in the second half, third quarter, and they can still run the ball, I think they can run the ball relatively effectively.
They have been on a consecutive streak of multiple turnovers. Let's set turnovers for the game at 1.5.
I will take the over on that. I think Cam could throw the ball to the other team once, twice. Yeah, I could definitely see that.
And it looks like, and we'll see, because it feels like this never works. They're going to run a 2-quarterback system.
Yeah, I mean, Walker's in there too, right? Yeah, and he could have the day of his life. He could throw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. He could, but my guess is he and Cam will each throw one to the other team. Would be my guess.
And let's set the team sack total at 5.
Oh, under. I don't think they're going to get 5 sacks. Again, I just don't think Cam's going to stay there. He is not a stationary target. You know what I mean? Like he may throw the ball away or he may go up the field, but he's not a sitting duck. Walker's pretty mobile too, but not like Cam is. You know what I mean? So I think it'll be under because again, without Young, it's not so much Young and Sweat get to the quarterback. It's that the other team has to pay attention to them. You have to game plan for them. You know what I mean? And that frees up Allen and Payne and those guys in the middle who are getting more one-on-one blocks because of it to get sacks. And without those two, you don't have to do any of that.
How do they win? Do you think they'll win? Would you venture a score prediction?
Well, I think they win by running the football, just like they did against Tampa Bay. The crowd's going to be hyped. They're going to be jacked with Cam coming back for the first time. Take the crowd out of the game by running the football. Heineke was really good last week. In fact, I think it was his best game as a starter. He was really accurate with the ball. The problem with Taylor's been he's not been accurate. He was really accurate last week. So if this is something to build on and he maintains that and doesn't turn the ball over and they can run it, I think they could win the game. Again, I come back to, can they keep Cam Newton contained for 4 quarters? And again, I'm not discounting Walker as a quarterback. I just don't know a lot about him. So I can't say he's going to be terrible. I can't say he's going to be great. You would hope that they don't get carved up by the backup quarterback, but it does happen in this league. And the defense has been better. I think the last 3 weeks, they've been better. So the game is won if they can run the football the way they ran against Tampa Bay and they can keep Cam Newton inside the quarterback box.
Now, will they?
Unfortunately, Doug, for football team fans, I just think Cam Newton's going to make a play or two off schedule. I just see him doing something with his legs again, not necessarily his arm, that really at a key moment in the game where the game's in the balance. And he has that capability. He can do that. Right. So And again, playing at home, I just have a feeling he makes one or two plays. I think it's a close game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's like a 21-17, 2014 kind of game. But I think I just see Cam Newton making a big play or two at key moments in the game.
That 21-17 it sounds exactly right to me. I think Washington's got a chance to pull it out. Either way, wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I saw that you had Michelle Beadle on the Hoops Adjacent podcast.
Yes.
Who's coming up next for you?
Well, we're trying to get a player. I can't say who right now, but we're trying to get an active player. I think we're going to get him. We try to mix it up between players and coaches and media people that I like Michelle. I really like as a person. She's a very down to earth person. So we really had a good time talking with her. So hopefully we'll have a player on next week. I think we will, but I don't want to jinx it. So
no, I hear you. David, as always, we really appreciate your time, man. Have a blast today. Thank you.
Doug, thank you so much for having me, man. Anytime.
Yeah, thank you.
Was that okay?
That was great, man. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure, man. My pleasure. Anytime. You guys, if they do get on a roll here and get going and get in the real thick of the hunt, let you know. I'll be happy to jump back on anytime.
Oh, man, I love it. Appreciate you.
Okay, Doug. Be safe, my man.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. You too, bro.